Hello, and a very good evening to you once again. How was your day? Hope it was as good as ours. We've been quite busy today, haven't we?
Yes, we have indeed.
And we're raring to go, all set with another of our daily updates. It occurred to me that this is a sort of 21st century version of Wayne's World, isn't it? Really,
Something like that.
kind of hitting in real time, because here we are in our basement, which happens to be on the first floor. But which one is Wayne and which one is Garth? Who do you want to be?
You choose.
Okay, I'll be Wayne, you
Just
can
go.
be Garth, and
Okay.
party on. Excellent, although I think that was Bill and Ted, so we're mixing our sort of rocky metaphors here.
Yeah.
Anyways, yesterday was dominated, I guess, by the fact that the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, went into intensive care in hospital. I think... The news coming out of the hospital about him has been a bit sort of economical. It is a very nasty germ, so kind of tell it like it is, fellas. You know, if the Prime Minister is very ill, tell it, and then we can wish him our very best, and we can wish him a swift recovery. But I think that there are too many spin doctors in politics, and it's better for everyone if we know where we stand, because it wasn't long ago we saw and it doesn't matter whether you voted for Boris or not, because it could have been it could have been anybody. It could have been Theresa May, it could have been Dave Cameron, it could have been Jerry Corbyn, it could have been Keir Starmer, so it doesn't matter who's sitting on the steps of number 10 running the show, but the guy running the show is the guy running the show, and what we saw is a sort of very optimistic fella doing all these press briefings and with all that energy. Hello, Kevin, it's very, very nice of you to join us this evening. With all that energy that we saw at the press conferences on the steps of number 10 and all this kind of thing, and then to see Boris Johnson's last appearance on the Friday or the Thursday, when he was waving for our very brave NHS workers, he looked very rough, and so this is a nasty illness. Don't pass it up. Don't make out it's any better than it is, because we need people to stay at home, and we need people to know the truth about this. And the truth is, I haven't been outside now for over a week. I get as far as the pavement, and then I see somebody coming about 100 metres away and get scared and come back indoors.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the bottom line. There's a Facebook group which hello Lynn, thank you for joining us this evening. Regardless of which way we voted in the elections and Brexit and all that stuff, which is all a long time ago. And here's a paradox, because Kevin has just joined us 2 minutes after he sent us a message. So how do you do that? That's quite a remarkable thing. I don't know how it's magic, I think. Regardless of how people voted and this kind of thing, the important thing is to stay inside and to wrap up warm, find things to do, find some new hobbies, and I think above all, stay positive. And there is a Facebook group tonight where everybody is going to give a round of applause for Boris at 8 o'clock. We'll be off slightly before then, because as Kevin knows, we've got a rock show to do at 8 o'clock, which I hope you'll join me for, and I will post the link later on, and that's a long-standing thing that I've done for more than 10 years, which means that tonight we're going to be speaking twice as fast as usual, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
That sounds scary.
I'll try my best.
That sounds scary, doesn't it? We are... This virus is definitely slowing down. The rate of acceleration, as I've been mentioning for the last few days, is slowing. The actual peak and the actual number of cases is expected next week, as long as everybody stays at home. They don't have these barbecues, they don't invite 60 people to the wedding and all that kind of stuff, or go in a pub. And hello, Alex, and hello, Jimeneza. It's great to have you joining us on this very positive, terrific Tuesday, when we're talking about all the good stuff that's going on in the world. And a very good evening to you, Andrew, as well. We're talking about all the good stuff in the world, all the good stuff that's happening, and that's what we need to sort of highlight to sort of contrast the fact that, being at home all the time might be a bit boring, but not as bad as being in a lockdown in a siege or something like that. Although there is a sort of army out there, but they're a sort of invisible one. Hello, Paula. Hope
Paula.
you're doing well this evening.
Long time no see.
Thank you for joining us on this super time. Did you share it on your Facebook then? Hey. I hope you did. Isn't that exciting? Wow, we're simulcasting. Terrific stuff. So now, man flu. Everybody knows it's hypochondria and blah blah blah, and that we're not as we're just wimps when it comes to illnesses and things. But as far as coronavirus is concerned, there is evidence that it hits us harder, us of the male disposition. So no shelves putting up and no housework done, handiwork around the house for 6 months. That's a ripe old excuse, I think. But you know, and we're not quite sure why it is. Is it the XY chromosomes thing? But there is a difference, and vive la différence, as they say. But men need to take care, especially old men like me. We need to wrap up and hide ourselves away.
Yes.
You know, and part of it, the thing about oh, hello Paul, it's great to have you with us. Hope things in the sort of Colchester and surrounds are good this evening. Hello Lee, thanks for your company. We're just talking about why man flu notwithstanding, which we freely admit is a bout of hypochondria, why coronavirus does seem, and hello Lee, why coronavirus does seem to hit people a tad harder, men, boys, than ladies. Part of it is that we're smoking all the time and down the pub boozing and all that kind of thing, and we tend to live. Paula says she's lost us. I'm sorry about that. If anybody else has lost us, do let us know.
Are we still here?
Because we've got quite a dodgy internet connection, and that is not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So I hope that we'll be seeing Paula back again soon. And if anybody else is having issues, please do message us. The sort of testosterone fueled risk taking that men do with no wisdom or thought at all about what's good for their health and all that kind of thing.
Could it be a combination of food and drink and habits and stress?
Yeah. And don't forget all the sex and drugs and rock and roll. The rock and roll will be coming along at 8 o'clock on the rock show that I do on a local station here called Cam FM. I'll post the link later, but the sex and drugs will contain to this hour. Very good evening to you, Robert. It's great to have your company this evening. We've been exchanging quite a few messages about stuff on Facebook today, and it's always great to catch up with old friends, especially after a leave of absence of some time. Some of my friends, like Paul, who joined us earlier, I haven't seen them for about 40 years. So that's a kind of extreme case. But you know, it's a way in which this thing being this lockdown at home and so forth is actually bringing us closer. Paula says that we're coming and going. If anybody else is experiencing that as well, please do let us know. One of the things that I've noticed actually is that in our street, despite the fact that it's almost empty. It's a street full of students, isn't it? You know,
yes,
but despite that, our internet slows right down in the evening because everybody, the 4 remaining people in the street or something, obviously have 12 computers each, all of which are streaming Netflix and Amazon Prime or whatever. I don't know, but I have noticed it slow right down from the 100 thingamybobs a second that I'm paying for allegedly in my huge monthly bill, right down to 3 thingamybobs a second. So that's a huge amount of squeezage going on there, if that is a proper word.
So going back to men,
yes.
Being more susceptible to coronavirus and to man flu, etc. That's not an excuse to not do the little jobs around the homes. And ladies, we need to look after them as well. So
well, you know, we'll see. Maybe I can hide the stepladder, fellas, but we'll see how we get on. We'll see how we get on. Don't tell. Okay. So you know. So in South Korea, the ratio of male to female fatalities with COVID-19 was 2 to 1. But South Korea is also the place where the male rate of smoking is the highest of all the OECD countries. So if you are unlucky to be a smoker, and there aren't many left actually in the UK now, it's not like it was when I was a kid. Kevin as well says that it's coming and going. Are we talking about the audio or are we talking about the video? Which is not a terribly good thing. We are recording this and we will put it out on YouTube tonight as well. So if it is all pixelating and things, I do apologise. Sarah, good evening. Thank you for joining us. You know, we're just using domestic kit in our living room. We don't have a business line to the internet or anything like this. We're just putting this up every day to cheer everybody up. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry if the stream is breaking up a little bit. So you know, please bear with us. Men have discovered hand washing. I found out about hand washing about 2 or 3 weeks ago, show, and prior to that, my entire life, I'd only done it on Christmas Day and my birthday, which are a week apart. So by Christmas Eve, the old hands were kind of not as ripe and ready as they would be on January 2nd. But that probably helps, the fact that we do more of that now, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, hands up, who knows who David Icke is?
Ooh.
He used to be a sports presenter, didn't he? On in case his lawyers are watching, I have to be careful. But he used to be a sports presenter on BBC television, and then his views got a bit more. What should we say? Hello, Finn. Thanks for joining us on this happy Tuesday evening. Yeah. So we're just talking about this guy David Icke, who's quite well known as being what should we say? His views are somewhat how should we say controversial. Tinfoil hat, that kind of thing, and he did this lengthy video today that got watched by a lot of people about the links between 5G and coronavirus, and as a result, and by the way, for the avoidance of doubt, there aren't any links between 5G and coronavirus. They're not even spelt the same. So anybody who thinks there is a link, there's plenty of links on Google. Hello, Adam Kirtley, my very very good friend Adam, with whom I used to do loads of stuff at the BBC with a mutual friend of ours called Mike Howarth. It's great to have you join us this evening. So at the moment we're talking about the slightly more sort of out there, outlandish perhaps views that are expressed on the social platforms. So after this lengthy diatribe by David Icke today about the alleged by him links between 5G and coronavirus, I think the only thing that they've got in common is that there are news stories about them both, but there's just as much of a link with X Factor. So YouTube has banned all conspiracy theory videos, not all conspiracy theory videos, but all of the ones with these rather
unpleasant,
hard to defend links between a 5G and coronavirus, and clearly a virus is a virus, and 5G is EM, electromagnetic radiation. Hello, Abel. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's very nice to have your company on this super terrific Pick Me Up Tuesday. This is like the third Tuesday of lockdown now, isn't it? So it's only been 2 weeks. We've had 3 Tuesdays, and now we're really getting into all the spring of this. We are rocking and we are rolling, and it's not just Friday nights then that we party in front of the television with a cup of cocoa and our feet up and a blanket over our knees. It's every night of the week. So I mean, how awesome is that really? And we're really having a blast here, and So everybody, there's nothing that brings politicians together so much as one of their own number being ill. So everybody has been paying tribute to Boris Johnson. Even Vladimir Putin said that his humour will pull him through, and that's probably the thing, isn't it? Really, humour is terrific in the face of adversity, and I think we should all try to keep the old chin up, as they say, and that is a good thing. Oh, did you know actually about breathing? That breathing is apparently, this is something that our friend Joanna sent us the other day, that breathing is apparently much easier if you sort of lean forward like that, and if in the unlikely event that you find difficulty in breathing, moving forward. Hello, Jeanette, thanks for joining us. What you have to do is lie on your stomach and prop yourself up on some pillows, and you'll be able to apparently live a little bit better. And as a fellow who suffers from asthma, hence I'm not going out at all at the moment, no way, I sit in a chair, rest this part of my elbow on my knees, and then I can breathe terrifically. That's the easiest breathing position that there is. So
I think you use different set of muscles when you're breathing like that, rather than
it's
like that.
Absolutely about this, and this is a very important takeaway. Hello, Russ. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us, because as someone who regularly suffers from breathing stuff, I can tell you that really helps, and it's a kind of a bit of a shock when suddenly. But if you do it all the time, it's just kind of, you get into a sort of habit of that, if you know what I mean. So a lot of good news about this virusy thing. We're going to have newer, faster testing. There's a fella today, he was a scientist, and he said we can completely knock this on the head if we test everybody in the whole of the UK once a week. I mean, maybe that's a bit optimistic, but he said, heck, the postman comes to your door every day, so this fellow suggested that we should test 10 million people a day. Once the logjam with
10
tests
million?
and things, 10 million people a day, and if well, okay, he's an idealistic scientist fellow, and he doesn't realise the beware of the dog thing and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But it is true that the bills come through my letterbox certainly every day, and if this doesn't involve a pinprick or anything like that, it just involves a little swab in your nose. If everybody was doing that once a week, and if the government could pull their fingers out and get the tests available, this would be 100 times more tests than the targets that the government are saying they'll do. But industry will promote, will gear up and make it. They just have to be asked.
That reminds me, in Mexico, in the old days, we had some kind of virus going around as well. Can't remember which one exactly. But what we did have, it was flocks of nurses coming from the Red Cross International, as a matter of fact, working alongside, knocking every single door, just making sure that we were all okay, and taking these tests. But yeah, that reminds me of that. So it could be something that can be implemented.
You never know. But if we were able to test everybody once a week, and then everybody who was, it's the people without the symptoms, which is the big problem with this. And most people don't get symptoms for 5 days. Some people don't get them at all ever. And so if we knew who those were, then we could ask them to stay home and trace all the people they'd met and this kind of thing, and it would just shrivel away, and there would be no more COVID-19 ever. And we would have to obviously test people coming in and out of airports as well as part of it, and that would be an extraordinary way to get Britain back on their feet very, very, very quickly. So you know, perhaps a tad idealistic, but the point that this professor was making, and I forget his name, was that there is enough capacity in labs around the country to do this number of tests.
Yeah.
So I think you know, it's not as pie in the sky as you might think, if there is the will, you know, to do it. A bit out there, but
We need
well,
to learn our lessons, because we expect more viruses coming our way, more kind of pandemia in the long, near, distant future. So we need to really learn a huge lesson, and perhaps have private enterprise kind of having these tests done, and analyzing the data, and for the people that doesn't get these symptoms, see their lifestyle, their genetic makeup, to see what we can do for future uses.
Now,
all about the data.
sorry to interrupt. 2 vaccines for this horrible, nasty lurgy have already entered human testing. So that is that's like awesome, because like the first case of this was in kind of December. The world didn't know we got it till mid-January, and now we're already doing vaccine trials. And you know, to compare that with for example, HIV, we didn't even know what HIV was for about 2 years. So kind of, this is, you know, science has really progressed, and science is really being a big hitter and taking this one
That's
on.
right.
So I take that as in a very, very positive way. Obviously, trials are carried out in healthy volunteers, because the idea of a trial of a vaccine or a medicine or something was to make sure that it doesn't make you more ill than the actual illness that it's preventing. And
Right.
usually, with your vaccines, it's usually sort of inert things that are put into you. But you know, occasionally things might go a bit awry. The estimates on this one. This is the European Medicine Agency. So there are also clinical trials going on in the US right now as well. They've already started, but this is the European end of things. And they said it could take a year from making sure that nobody's head rolls off after taking the vaccine to mass producing it to giving me a shot. I am going to be, look, I'm sorry about this, but I'm going to be the first one in the queue. Okay, so kind of, you'll have to take your turn. And
Knowing you,
there we
yes,
are.
you will.
Knowing me, knowing you. There's a lot of Alan Partridge in me, actually. So you know, but don't tell anybody. Okay. So Lady Gaga is obviously saving the day. There's nobody, you know, Elton couldn't do it, Chris Martin couldn't do it with their little sort of gigs at home, but Lady Gaga has announced a concert called One World Together at Home, the Daily Telegraph describes it as this is terrific. I love journalists. The Daily Telegraph describes this concert as Live Aid for the COVID generation, but with significantly fewer boomtown rats. So no sign of Saint Bob in that. Those of us of a certain age will remember Live Aid, which was a terrific thing, and it's notable for obviously Freddie Mercury's performance, which really catapulted Queen back to the top where they should always have been, really. And you know, for Freddie Mercury to go out on that stage with a set that must have been put together in about 5 minutes, because the whole thing was thrown together very hastily, and for him to entertain 1 billion people with his sheer kind of presence and a whole load of people in Wembley Stadium is like awesome. And I'm still jealous that as a sort of small landlord back then, all my tenants got to go to Wembley to see this, and I was like fixing their loo or something. and back in those days, there were in the high street shops that would sell televisions, or in particular they would hire televisions. There was Radio Rentals, which ironically sold televisions, but anyway, and so the only glimpse that I got of Live Aid at the time was walking past these shops and seeing bits of it in the window and sort of trying to look, and then being hoiked off to get plumbing parts and all that kind of stuff. So you know,
You could have delegated that.
it was many years later that I actually, when it sort of was released online and on DVD and things,
Awesome.
that I got to see these things. But so you know, hello, Michael. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're looking at all those good stories and funny stories. And Lady Gaga's Live Aid for the COVID generation. It's got a heck of a lot of people in it. Actually, to be honest, reading the list, it's got Macca, of course, headlining the bill. So Paul McCartney, Elton is in it as well. Stevie Wonder, Andrea Bocelli, Chris Martin from Coldplay, Alanis Morissette, John Legend, Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Do you have the time to listen to me whine? And then there's a lot of people I haven't heard of, but there's also Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, and a lot of people I haven't heard of, because I've reached a certain age where anything that came out after the 1970s is a bit newfangled and it won't catch on, and all music should be listened to on a wind-up phonograph with a needle going.
Anyway.
Do you have anything to share with us at this
Yes,
juncture?
I've been doing some kind of joy food hiding. You know, that's a junk drawer that we all have in every single home, and you put all the bits and pieces. Well, I was reading about this a couple of weeks ago, and one of the tips that they give you is that if you get, for example, if you happen to have a bicycle or buy a bicycle, it comes with some...
Bicycle.
Don't give up your day job. DJ, not singer. So the best thing that you can do with these kind of tools that come with it is just to stick them or glue them to the actual equipment. For example, if you get a dishwasher and then it's got with some kind of gadget to keep it together and just to shake, open it up, just stick it to the dishwasher. So I've been doing all that, decluttering a junk drawer.
Luckily, okay, I hid the super glue. Otherwise, that could have been tricky.
No. You can't super glue it. Just stick it with a kind of tape.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Just my little joke. Anyway, never mind. Yeah. So.
It's all about creating good habits, you see.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not sure actually when Lady Gaga's Live Aid type concert is going on, but I hope it doesn't clash with this. Otherwise, we'll have to. They'll have to move their slot, won't they? They can't do it at 7 p.m. Although very often we can't do it at 7 p.m. either. Although theoretically we should
Google
be.
it.
Indeed. So there's some good stuff. There's good stuff going on, and
I think one of the best stuff is
yes.
that nature is also having a rest, not only us. Although
Yes.
some people might find it a bit, stay at home and with the family doing this, that and the other, but really it's a break that we really need to embrace. And you never know, with new changes, we might get paid to be at home doing what we like to do best.
Absolutely so. Moving on. Some fact checking is always good, isn't it? Really, fact checking is good at any time, especially where social media is concerned, especially where there's social media and there's a story that's on the news bulletin every single night. Claims this is a website that I don't know really, called pointer.org, Poynter, and they investigate 10 of the stories that are buzzing around, and I've seen them all in my news feed, to see whether these are legit or not. This is just an ordinary fellow. He doesn't have the resources of Reuters or a big news organisation, but he knows how to use Google. So the first claim here was the one where they say that China's closing the final coronavirus hospital, and we will have seen okay, in Excel, we did a good job of putting all the partitions up and everything, and all credit to everybody who did that. But China dug the foundations and put the concrete on and dug the walls and built the roof and then did all that stuff in super record time. And then did a wonderful, I love those stop frame animation sort of quick jerky things where there's this video of them building the hospital in a minute. I think that was speeded up. But anyways, yes, it appears to be true that all the temporary hospitals in China that were put up to deal with the COVID outbreak were closed, and there is apparently a video on YouTube of the doctors from the last hospital, the one in Wuhan, the last temporary hospital, taking off their masks, which is like a sort of rite of passage, isn't it, really?
That's right.
So then, what other stories have we got here? We've got another legitimate one that testing has begun in Seattle, because we were talking about testing here in Europe earlier on, and vaccine testing has indeed been tested in Seattle. They say that they're going to. They say that they're going to take 18 months. So there's a bit of a race, shall we say, to get that done fast. But I think 12 to 18 months is reasonable. 12 would really be pushing it some, but you never know.
Yep, that's right.
Have you got something there?
Well, I was just reading something very nice about friendships, because with this, I have made contact with so many wonderful people, some new ones, some old ones, some people that I have met a long time ago, secondary school, a long time ago. And it's just amazing how we have the opportunity to really recreate those friendships again. And I was reading this from Mary Sarton, which is about friendship. It says, "She became for me an island of light, fun, wisdom, where I could run with my discoveries and torments and hopes at any time of day and find welcome." I mean, we all surround with beautiful, wonderful people about our lives, throughout our lives. And we interact differently with each other ones, the same way you would interact with a baby and with someone else. That doesn't mean that you are different in every way, but you are being the original you. And how you give yourself to these friendships, it's just amazing to have that support. Don't you think, David?
Yes, I do. Very much so. Very much so. Now, Adam commented, "Is it as much tosh that 5G is linked to coronavirus as it was MMR and autism?" I didn't know that MMR and autism were linked to 5G as well, but there you go. It's all tosh. So let's while we're sort of dispelling false, I don't even need to Google that. And thank you for that input, Adam.
I see autism as some form of intelligence. They I mean, we're all different. It is very difficult to just make an assessment based on in comments. And yes, there has been situations, but that doesn't make you less human. You're human with a higher capacity of brain.
Yes. Now here's a thing, a claim which I hadn't seen online apparently, but apparently it's one that's floating around, that the Erasmus Medical Centre, which is in the Netherlands, has found an antibody that can fight against the coronavirus, and that's a new thing, really. Not being of the sort of medical persuasion, I have to sort of read this more carefully, but yeah, it is an extraordinary thing that could go around when you're infected, mopping it up. And again, that seems to be correct. There's a magazine and a Dutch newspaper which suggest that medicines may well be developed from this antibody, and that these could even be treatments that you could do at home. So kind of there may come a point where coronavirus is just like brushing your teeth or something. So we're not quite there yet. So don't go out. Lock that door and swallow the key. Right.
Yeah.
Don't try that at home though, because then you'd need a medic to come and remove it. So we wouldn't want that. Wendy and Ian, thank you for joining us this evening, which is absolutely fabulous. And most of these feel-good stories about the coronavirus turn out to be true, which is wonderful. Here's one more, and then we'll do one from you.
Okay.
So this is the claim that 103, we reported on this yesterday, that 103-year-old Chinese grandma made a full recovery from COVID-19, and there are several legitimate mainstream news stories, including The Independent here in the UK, that confirm that, and that makes her the oldest person to have recovered, which is absolutely fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, this one awareness of self. It says human beings are an untidy lot. They lose their arms and legs if they weren't joined on right. By Elizabeth Perswood. So this is the opportunity to just get on with our lives, just get well and get better and simplify our lives. Just forget about those deadlines, forget about that stress somehow, and just build a new you. I'm definitely working on that journey. Made so many mistakes, so many to be corrected, that it's just, we need to just live life in a very simple way. We all having a break here.
Hello, Wendy. Thank you for joining us. And for clarity, since we've got a couple of Wendy's watching this evening, this is Wendy, Ronnie's friend. Yes, the rock show is coming up in quite soon now. Oh my goodness me! In about a quarter of an hour, which means we're only going to do 10 more minutes of this.
I would say less than that.
and so yeah, but it's delightful to have you on board tonight, and then we'll go and we're going to be playing some Leonard Skinner tonight, as requested by my good friend Kevin. Probably a couple in a row, and that's all exciting, isn't it? So Apple and other computer brands are available, which I use. They apparently have reopened all 42 of their stores in China, and this is true. This is legit. Because outside of China, all the Apple stores are closed, so that bright shiny thing that you wanted will have to remain just a gleam in your eye for a while. But all 42 official Apple retail stores opened last Friday, after some time, after being shut down since mid-Feb, I think, which is quite rapid, quite good news. And then in Cleveland, presumably that's Cleveland, Ohio, they have on-site rapid testing that gets results for COVID-19 back within a day. And apparently it appears that about a week ago, on March 23rd, the FDA approved a new test that can yield results in as little as 45 minutes. Which is pretty damn good. I mean, you can't even do a pregnancy test in that time, can you? I think.
Yes.
Well, the last time I did one, it took hours, and it kept coming back negative. Okay, so
Excuse me.
That's me. Oh, I'm
right.
telling you.
Confessions.
Absolutely.
Hey,
You learn something new every day, don't you? Really.
Yeah.
Another great positive story from the news, changing the subject rapidly, is that the cases in South Korea are declining rapidly. There's that website that was set up by a young 16-year-old, which tracks all the coronavirus cases on a daily basis, and that confirms it, as do the WHO, which is quite interesting. And so those are the and the other one was the claim that Israel is well on the way to announcing the development of a vaccine. And that'll be up and running quite soon. This appears, and apparently another vaccine coming on the way in San Diego. But yes, these things are in the pipeline. They're not about to be ready in a month or two, but they are being worked on. And there are like 300 drug trials going on, and it's all cocktails of drugs, all mixed up in a shaker, by the bartender and everything. This is going to have a good outcome. It's as boring as I don't know what. I mean, I'm reading 3-year-old editions of National Geographic that I found in a box and that sort of stuff. But heck, it's better than 15 years in San Quentin or Alcatraz, especially Alcatraz, because people used to jump off that rock. And they'd be swept out to sea in the currents. It wasn't the best of places to escape from. And in my time there, in my 20 years in Alcatraz, I just had to stay there.
I think it's a wonderful challenge that we get now. And in terms of, sometimes we learn a lot of stuff throughout our lives. And what we know in our heads will not sustain us in moments of crisis. So this is our huge challenge to really pull all the strings from everywhere on how to cope in everyday life into what you have to do and keep yourself busy and positive. And so it's basically using your gifts of the feelings, which is, I am very lucky to have such a range of them. So you have to pull all the strings. Okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Because whatever you learned by default is not going to help you in a crisis. You have to impromptu. all the
Very,
way.
very, very true. Now, we heard about the story about the 103-year-old grandmother in China who recovered from this, and at the other end of the scale, another totally legit story here is that there was a newborn baby who was infected shortly after birth at the North Middlesex Hospital in London, which is also who is also out of danger and kind of recovering well. So at both ends of the scale here. Good news, which is a kind of fabulous thing. Village shops apparently are increasingly doing deliveries to help the elderly, which is very nice too. So they're not quite up to the scale probably of Tesco, although if you add them all up, it probably amounts to quite a volume of stuff. That's
Yes,
a nice good
I
story.
think we need to wrap up very soon because we have a show to run.
I'm watching the clock here. It's in 10 minutes I'll be going live with our rock show, and I do hope you can join me because it's some of the finest rock songs of all time, and we go back to the 1950s at one end or something, and last week at the other end. You've got something there, but is that for wrapping up or is that?
I just like people.
Slap one in and then find another one for later.
People, for the sake of getting a living, forget to leave.
It's very true.
This
it's
is
very
a challenge.
True.
Learn how to live again.
Absolutely, and we all need to do this, and this enforced idleness at the moment helps because it gives us more time to think about the things that matter, the things that are important in our lives, and to roll up our sleeves and get on with it. Hello, Ronnie. Thank you for joining us. Yes, there will be a rock show tonight, and we'll be turning off this live stream in about 5 minutes. Wendy's watching as well. And so is the mighty rocker Kev. So we will be heading off to Cam FM, which is camfm.co.uk/player. We'll put the link at the end, and hope everybody can join in on that. If
2 hours of
rock music is your kind of thing, if Lady Gaga's more your kind of thing, you might not like it. So because it's kind of loud.
Yeah, don't worry, he won't be singing.
Well. Yeah. So lots of progress going on. Lots of people doing good stuff. Lots of people doing good stuff in their homes. There's a new Facebook group that was set up last night, and it's already got about 60 or 70,000 members. How come the groups that I've got on Facebook have only got about 4 members? But anyway, this one is called Clap for Boris in recognition of the fact, and this is not a political thing, because as I say, it could have been Vince Cable, it could have been Sir Keir Starmer, it could have been David Cameron or something, but it happened to be Boris Johnson in the hot street when this epidemic broke out, so it's him in the hot seat. So people are going to sort of go out and applaud just to say, thanks for working hard at this time of crisis, and we need to recognise that Boris is pretty damn ill now, and he's pretty damn ill because he wanted to manage this crisis and to make good outcomes. I'm sure that politicians of any party would have gone the extra mile had they been Prime Minister, but it's the guy in the chair who's now lying in the hospital, and that's something that I think we all need to recognise. Have you got a final thought that you could leave us with tonight, Irma?
A final thought in terms that we are on this war together. And the soldiers are nurses and all the people involved in helping each other, delivery drivers, everybody, we're in this together. So the last thought in this one is get on with living and loving, because you don't have forever. We don't. So let's learn a lesson and just keep on living and loving.
See, my dad always used to say, live every single day as if it were your last. And what he means by that is pull out all the stops and do the best that you can actually absolutely do, because all of us pop our clogs one way or another in the end. And so, why have a sort of disappointing, miserable day? And see, if you're doing the old 9 to 5 on the old treadmill, and if your entire life consists of looking forward to Friday, then it's time to think about doing something else, and this is a very good time to start thinking about that, because you can get out of that treadmill. I know a lot of people who've done this. I've got a lot of friends who don't mosey on down the office or the factory every Monday morning and then come home exhausted over the weekend, only to sort of crash out and start the whole thing again the next week. So there are alternatives, and I think we should sort of talk about this moving forward. A very good evening to you, Phil. Unfortunately, we're about to wrap this, but it will be available to see again on demand. I know, because we've got a live radio show to do. So any rockers out there, do join me in about 5 minutes. at camfm, all one word, .co.uk/player. Where, and I'm going to post this in the comments right now, and I do hope that you will be able
Wrong
to
keyboard.
I've got too many keyboards here, but my parting gift to you tonight will be to post this link, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next 5 minutes or so. Voice only. Thank you very much for your company tonight. We will be back at the same time tomorrow.
Keep positive.
Thank you. Take care now.
Bye now.
Have a good one.